You finished second in the primary.
Yeah.
You're the incumbent. You've been in office for a decade, and more than a decade as lieutenant governor. Why do you think you finished second? What happened?
Well, I think we had a low turnout in a lot of ways. We had a low turnout. I don't think our ads connected with people as well as I wanted them to. And Dan Patrick, his ads came up, and I compliment him. He said what people wanted to hear. But people don't know the real Dan Patrick. And some people don't know the real David Dewhurst. And so I'm running a truth campaign to tell people who I am, what I want to do. And on Dan Patrick, all we're doing is we're quoting things he's said, things he's done from newspapers, from TV shows, simply to tell people the truth about Dan Patrick. Because I think when they know Dan Patrick and they know me, they're going to vote for me every day and twice on Sunday.
Well, you mentioned the ads. They've gotten nasty on both sides. I mean, these are some hard-hitting ads. And in your recent TV ads, you characterized Senator Patrick as a tax cheat. You hit him hard for his bankruptcy, but you also went bankrupt in 1982. You repaid your secured creditors, but not all of your unsecured creditors. So I'm wondering, are the ethical obligations you had during your bankruptcy, are they the same as the obligations Senator Patrick had?
They're apples and oranges. Dan Patrick was running bars and didn't make it, declared a personal bankruptcy. He owed his creditors over $800,000, stiffed them, and then he pocketed his employees' federal income tax withholding payments. Now, in my case, apples and oranges.
And you know that how? That he pocketed his employees' federal income?
Well, because the money was taken out of their checks, right? The money was taken out of their checks, and he didn't turn it into the IRS. The IRS had to go after him and put a lien on him, and he had to work out a payment schedule to pay that back. In my case, I was one of 3 different shareholders in a company. Our lender put the company into bankruptcy. I was not the majority shareholder, but I felt obliged. We had lots of assets, almost as many as our liabilities, but I wanted to make sure that our bank debt was paid back, so I paid it back personally, $830 some odd thousand, and I paid back other secured debts. And so I tried to get everybody paid back.
All of this happened 30 years ago.
Right.
Does it matter anymore for either one of you?
Well, it matters only if this is a pattern, Shelley. It matters only if this is simply an example of character. Because if we're both real conservative and we both agree with each other on policy 98% of the time, then it's a question of who has the character and the ability and the vision to lead this state forward over the next 4 years. And I submit on the facts, it's me.
If he doesn't tell the truth, if he can't get along with people, which is what you've maintained, why did you appoint him to be chair of a very important committee, public education? If he's not trustworthy, why did you put him there? Because
hope springs eternal. He came in to see me during the fall of 2012, 6, 7, 8 times. And said we were longtime friends, and he wanted to work on this, and education was a passion. He'd work hand in glove with me, and we would together improve public education. Didn't happen that way. First chance he had when I gave him a bill, Senate Bill 1406, which was to end C-scope. I had to push him to pass the bill. And then the next thing I know, he's on the back mic over in the House of Representatives, working with Democrats, trying to kill the bill.
What do you think the greatest talent and skill is that you bring to the Lieutenant Governor's office? What do you do best?
Well, Shelley, it's clearly not being the most glib speaker. It's clearly not being the fastest speaker. When my dad was killed by a drunk driver, Mom says that I was so traumatized that I stuttered I couldn't talk. So I speak slower. but I like to problem solve. I like to solve problems. I'm a businessman. I mean, I like to move the state of Texas forward. I know my being involved, didn't do it all alone, but my being involved in cutting taxes 54 times for almost $16 billion has helped us create the best business climate in Texas of any other state. It's created more jobs, all right?
Is there a single accomplishment in the past decade that you would look to and say, this is what people need to know about me. This is what I've done that I consider perhaps my most important signature piece of legislation or accomplishment?
You know, people always ask that single piece. Do you mind if I give you two?
Oh, you can have two.
Thanks.
You can have two.
Thank you. You know, when I came into the legislature in 2003, I've been in almost 11 years. Patrick's been in 7 years, close to the same time. But when I came in, we had a $10 billion shortfall. And I came in, and there was a lot of concern in the Senate. And I planned and planned and planned and worked and worked and worked and knew what I wanted to do to balance the budget. And we balanced it without raising taxes. And then we proceeded. I think that sent a big signal to business that we were serious about balancing the budget, maintaining, actually we increased somewhat our spending on public education. We held our higher education spending flat, but we didn't cut those two priorities. But that sent a signal. The other thing is protecting kids and women's health. I was presiding over an execution when Governor Perry was gone one time. I've done this some 30, 40 times. And there was a particularly terrible fact pattern about a sexual predator who would end up killing this little 5-year-old girl. It was so horrific that I spent almost the next year of my life, whenever I had time, talking to sexual abuse victims, parents, police officers, DAs around the state. And I passed the toughest Jessica's Law in the country. And I think that's helped. So I want to do everything I can to help kids.